Did you know that stress is known as a silent killer because it is linked to many of the leading causes of death, which include heart disease, cancer, liver cirrhosis, and suicide? My purpose of this speech is to inform you about 3 different types of stress. I'm credible to talk about this because I have done research on it. In this speech, I will mention the word hypertension. And hypertension just means high blood pressure. As college students, it is important to understand the 3 different types of stress and how they can affect the mind and the body. Now that you know what I'm going to be talking about, we can get into my first point. And my first point is acute stress. Acute stress is the most common and least damaging type of stress. It can be caused by negative thoughts about an recent or upcoming event or a deadline, such as an assignment deadline, or negative thoughts of failing a test. The symptoms of acute stress are typically short-lived. They don't last very long. And some symptoms could be emotional distress, which means that you could be angry, sad, and irritable at the same time. Other symptoms include muscle issues such as tightness or tension headaches. And some symptoms that you may be more familiar with of acute stress are sweaty palms, the shortness of breath, dizziness, and increased heart rate. Now that you know my first point, which was acute stress, we can go ahead and get into my second point, which was episodic acute stress. And episodic acute stress occurs when someone has many episodes of acute stress. And people who suffer from episodic acute stress often take on more responsibility than they can handle. These people are typically always in a rush, unprepared, disorganized, and can always seem to feel pressured. Episodic acute stress has many physical symptoms, and these symptoms include migraines, hypertension, and even heart disease. Other symptoms of episodic acute stress include cognitive distress, stress in the workplace, and even strained relationships. Now that I've informed you on my second point, which was episodic acute stress, we can get into my third point. And my third point is chronic stress. Chronic stress is the most harmful type of stress, and it comes from the exposure of stress hormones over a long period of time. Chronic stress can come from long-term poverty, repeated abuse, an unhappy marriage, traumatic life experiences, and even an over-demanding job. If chronic stress goes left untreated, it can be really damaging to your mental and physical health. It can result in anxiety, depression, sleep issues, memory and concentration issues. Chronic stress can also result in weight gain, strokes, and even heart attacks. In an article written by Rebecca R. Claxton titled Physiological Responses to Acute Stress and the Drive to Eat, she states, variability in stress-induced eating and consequently obesity may be explained in part by individual differences in chronic stress, which disrupts the regulatory effects of the HPA axis on stress-induced eating. Now that I've informed you about chronic stress, we can move on. In conclusion, stress has lots of detrimental effects. In this speech, I informed you about acute stress, episodic acute stress, and chronic stress. I chose to talk about this topic because I wanted to inform people about the types of stress and the effects that they can have. Thank you for listening to my speech.